Let's talk about the 5 reasons why people may need more salt. Number 1, low adrenals. Your adrenal glands make hormones that control the amount of salt in your body. Now, if the adrenal glands are low, let's say you're not producing sufficient quantity of adrenal hormones, as in Addison's disease, you're going to be losing a lot of salt. It's like your body has a hole in the bucket and the salt's going right through. And this is very dangerous because if you run out of salt, your heart can't work correctly, your fluids are not balanced correctly, your blood pressure drops too low. There's all these serious side effects that can happen. Everyone's focused on too much salt, but not a salt deficiency. And then we have blood pressure being too low. We mentioned that because the salt actually holds the fluid to maintain the volume of blood in your body. So if you don't have enough salt, there's not the volume to maintain the blood pressure. Low back pain would be another symptom of low adrenals. And by the way, as a side note, 77% of people with Addison's have serious low vitamin D deficiencies. And one of the top causes worldwide for Addison's, which is an autoimmune disease, is TB. And the interesting thing about this microbe is that it has the ability to block the vitamin D receptor. And it's a strategy that certain microbes use to survive because vitamin D gives the immune system protection against certain microbes, especially the Epstein-Barr virus and even the HIV virus. And another symptom of low adrenals would be excessive amounts of calcium in the blood, which could lead to kidney stones. And then we have high potassium. Anytime we have low salt, we're usually going to have high potassium because salt and potassium work together. Weight loss. So a person with Addison's loses weight and they have acidosis. On the flip side, there's another condition called Cushing syndrome, which has a high output of adrenal hormones, where the person has too much salt, they're retaining salt, they have low potassium, they're stressed. These guys are stressed too. They have belly fat, they can't lose weight, they can't sleep, and they have alkalosis. Their blood is excessively too alkaline. So these are a bit opposite. The point is that if you have low adrenals, you're going to need more salt, okay, because your body's not retaining it. So that would be indication number 1, low adrenals, you need more salt. Reason number 2, excessive water intake. There's a lot of people that drink a ton of water, like I'm talking a gallon or more of water per day, and they're not really sweating, or they're not taking electrolytes, or they're not consuming salt. If you consume too much water without the minerals, and I'm talking about salt, that could be dangerous to the heart because you're diluting the minerals and the electrolytes, which creates all sorts of problems. Just look up the condition called hyponatremia, which is very dangerous. I put a link down below. And that comes from consuming too much water or water intoxication. You wouldn't think of water being toxic, but too much of it can be. Next one, sweating excessively. If you're an athlete and let's say you're wearing gear, like a football player, for example, headgear, shoulder pads, the whole thing, and it's a warm day, you can lose up to 6 grams of salt per hour, okay? And that can be very dangerous. So if you do a lot of sweating, you need more salt. Of course, I'm always going to recommend sea salt. And the best sea salt to consume would be Himalayan salt. That's very pure salt on a mountaintop. Now, you also have Celtic salt, and always consume sea salt, which has 84 minerals, as compared to table salt, which only has 2. All right, number 4, keto. The ketogenic diet can act as a diuretic and push fluid out of your body. And also with the fluid comes the minerals and the salt. This is why if you're on keto, you need to consume more electrolytes and you need to consume more salt because you might have some of the symptoms that come along with the keto adaptation. If you're deficient in sodium, that would be weakness or weak muscles. People that are on a high carbohydrate diet just hold a ton of fluid. Okay, so wherever the glucose or sugar goes, the water goes. So you have a lot of glucose in the body, you hold a lot of fluid in the body. If you're on keto, it's the opposite. You're basically going to release a lot of fluid. So you're going to need more salt. A minimum of 1 teaspoon of sea salt per day. And this includes doing intermittent fasting. Just make sure that if you're not consuming for 1 or 2 days and you're consuming 1 level teaspoon, dissolve it in some water and then spread it out through the day. Don't just drink it all at once. The next point I want to bring up is very, very important. If you're consuming the recommended amount of vegetables that I recommend, which is 7 to 10 cups, you're going to be getting a lot of potassium foods. If you don't consume enough salt, you can have an imbalance with a bit too much potassium. So if you're consuming a lot of veggies, you must also consume enough salt, 1 teaspoon a day. And the other point is my electrolyte powder. 1 scoop is 1,000 milligrams of potassium. There's very little sodium in that electrolyte powder. So it's not necessarily meant for the athlete that sweats a lot. It's meant for the average person that's very low in potassium. So if you're consuming my electrolyte powder, also add the sea salts, because eventually you're going to have a bit too much potassium and you may get weak muscles, okay? All right, so there are other reasons why you might need salt, but these are the 5 most common reasons. Hey, if you're liking this content, please subscribe now, and I will actually keep you updated on future videos.